Tring, do you have any advice for people who are trying to still work a full-time job and they have this idea? Because I know it's kind of our area of expertise. So I was like, yeah, Tring, do you have any advice for people who are trying to like do both or trying to transition to a metaphysical business and how to deal with some of those hurdles that come with that? There's so many.
It's tough because you're trying to balance the two. And I think there's so many courses I've seen or programs where they're like, they'll have a big promise, like make X amount of money within 30 days. And I see through that now. I know exactly what they're doing. Usually they'll say that because it worked for them, but they're 5 years into their business. But they say that as a promise to you, and you expect that, oh, I'm going to get this as a business, like my first month, I'm going to make this much amount of money. But it actually takes a while. In the beginning, it's difficult because no one knows that you exist. So your first year, you're really going to be spending a lot of time trying to get out there. And that's where in our business coaching program, we kind of help with. So link in bio if you're on Instagram or YouTube watching, it's on our website. For those on Zoom, thehappyhealingshop.com. But yeah, I think you have to be like really patient because you already have a full-time job. And then you only have like time for like in the beginning, Maria was only available to do like only a few readings. And then most of the readings were on Sundays. But then after that, you don't have a lot of me time and you get burnt out. So it's one of those things like, well, the first year you might not get a lot of readings because you're just trying to promote yourself. You're trying to get people to know that you exist. But I think also this is like, I love this word. I love outsourcing. So after a while, you'll be like, I'm so tired of trying to post all the time on social media or like on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all at the same time. There's just too much going on, and YouTube. How do I keep up with all that? So I use Fiverr.com or Upwork.com, and I find a virtual assistant. And even though it's just only a few hours a week, it will save your sanity. It's also kind of like just tedious work you don't want to do. Or even like if you're making a nice, lengthy, in-depth YouTube video, you could be like, hey, virtual assistant, can you edit this video for me? And let me know when you're done with it. And so that way you don't have to spend 4 hours stressed trying to like video edit it. And you can give it to someone else that might be faster than you, or just, even though you know how to do it, you have to learn to also be like, you know what, I need help and I can give this work to someone else that can help me. And it's worth the money. It is so worth the money. Yeah. So I'm talking to Chace right now. She's one of our Reiki students.
No, I'm super excited because that's why I wanted to join, because that's what I'm trying to do, honestly, is build my business in that way. I've been doing it for a long time on myself, but I never actually followed through with the certification. And I know you don't have to, but I was really excited about just to having this forum to talk about, because that's part of, after the pandemic and everything, it's hard because you're like, do I do something one-on-one, in person with people? Do I do something with distance, and so it's something that I kind of want to do both, but I'm really shy, and I don't like to be on camera. I don't like to be on, like, I don't like my picture taken for years. So like the whole thought of social media terrifies me.
Yes. I think Maria can totally agree with you on that, because she's definitely the introvert shy one. And I'm more of like, hey, if I need to be on camera, I'm fine, whatever. Someone kind of, when I traveled, this was something I was like, oh, that's interesting. That was a good point. But he was saying, when I was traveling, I met someone in a hostel, and he was saying like, people think, oh, they're like themselves, like, oh, this is not me, and I don't want to put myself. But then he's like, when we travel, like I was backpacking and he was too, and he's like, when we travel, we're a slightly different personality too. And I thought about it, it's like, you're also slightly different in a relationship, and you're not going to act the same around friends than like with your partner, boyfriend, husband, fiance. And he's like, there's different versions of you, but you're still yourself. And that made me think, okay, so instead of getting in that mindset of like, oh, some people think they're fake. They feel fake on Instagram, especially on Instagram, but on social media. But it's like, no, you're kind of like, you're not just black and white. You're different characters. You're going to be slightly different in front of like your boyfriend and whatnot. But I think also to help out with the shyness of the camera, you can always start out with, well, Instagram is easy in the fact that you can always put like a photo of pot of flowers or that kind of stuff. And you can always just, the caption could be talking about Reiki energy, how you can send it to Reiki plants, or like it's, you know, it's in living things and whatnot. So you don't have to have your face on it yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
you know,
That
you
makes
can,
a lot of
kind of like
sense.
divert like that way and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Make sure you use all the hashtags. And then I'm trying to think, Facebook, there's not much engagement in terms of Facebook page. That's pretty much dead.
Yeah.
Facebook
I
group
don't
is
really do.
where, yeah, Facebook group is where it shines, where people, let's say they have questions on energy healing or that kind of stuff, or they have questions on, that's if you choose to go that route, where they might have like, oh, I feel stuck. I feel stuck right now with my career. Is there an energy blockage? And if you want to start interacting with people like that, you know, then they might be like, you know what, I need a Reiki session. I think I need an energy healing session. Where can I book you? And then people know that. So that's how Facebook group can work for you. And then for TikTok, where it's video, and you're probably like, I don't want to be on video. What you can do in the beginning is you can always record like videos of like your hands doing Reiki on something. So it's kind of like the view of like the camera looking down, or like on your hands. It's not on your face. It could be like things that you're doing around the house, or like ways to use Reiki around the house. And you're just seeing like you're recording like a video of your hands doing Reiki symbols around the house, for like protecting your windows, protecting the energy coming through the door, and that kind of stuff. So, so in terms of like video footage, you can do it like that, where it's still showing your hands and other body parts, but not here yet. And eventually over time, it's for you to work on, but you'll get more comfortable. I think after you start editing videos and stuff, you get more comfortable. And also TikTok, I think Maria can understand with this as well. TikTok's like a casual platform. Instagram, I think Instagram has a little bit more of like that, oh no, I got to keep up with them and their looks type of platform. So, but TikTok, you can see people make like silly videos on there. Like they're in their pajamas and stuff like that. And people don't care. They just like watch and laugh, or you put like funny background music. So I think TikTok, in a way, mentally for a lot of people, is a more casual, like low stake TikTok social media platform. So I hope that helps.
Definitely helps me. I honestly have a lot of ideas, but I'm really new to social media. You know, like I'm a graphic designer, so I want things to look proportionate, and so I'm a perfectionist with that.
Oh,
And
I
so
know. You sound like Maria.
I am, and
She's
so
a graphic designer too.
If it doesn't look right, I'm like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this, you know? So I think I need to just let go and just have some fun with it, honestly. And I think that I had the biggest questions that I want to know is like, I think like, how do you sustain it? I mean, are you exhausted every day from doing, you know, sustaining the social media platforms for that? I mean, that's a kind of a question for me. And
yeah, so there's a couple ways to go about this. This is probably like later down the road because it costs some money, but you can always hire someone, outsource it. And when you outsource it, it's like gold. You're just like, wow, all this huge chunk of tasks that I kind of don't want to do, but I know I need to do to grow my business is like, I can throw it out the window because someone else is doing it for me. And that's like beautiful. But usually people don't want to spend money yet, or it might take them a while to find someone good. So there's that. But in the beginning, what I always like to say, work smarter, not harder. So in the beginning, what we also did was, for example, Maria would make TikTok videos for fun. Sometimes you'll get like creative ideas out of nowhere. And I think that's the thing about TikTok, just like do it right and spur the moment. And then you can use that video, save it, and just post it on Instagram and Facebook again. So it's like the same content. So you're just making like one video, but you're using it for the rest of your social media. So that way you don't have to make like one thing for TikTok, one thing for Facebook, one thing for Instagram, and be like, this is so overwhelming. And now YouTube allows shorts as well. So you can just upload to YouTube, and then so that way you're not it doesn't feel like you're trying to like churn out so much work for yourself when you can just use it. Or even sometimes another way you can do it is pretend you made a video on Reiki, right? Just like using Reiki around the house, or using Reiki in different parts of your life, or about getting like a job. When you're job searching, you can use Reiki for that, for the best outcome. And what you could do is on, let's say, Instagram, if you want to put a photo of like someone working behind a desk, or like just a pretty desk, and then the caption, you can type it out saying like, here are 5 ways you can use Reiki in your life, and then do it like that. So if you don't want to put video content on Instagram and you just want to do photo, you can just make it more informative, if that makes sense, in the caption part. And using that informational caption part, what you could do is then use that and put it as a blog post on your website. I love having a blog post, a blog area or an article area on my page.
Yeah, that's like my favorite thing.
So many people you'll find out ask the same questions, and it's hard to like scroll through and be like, oh, it's like on a TikTok or Instagram post back in like 2020, and you have to like scroll. So it's just so much easier and also in blogs, you can go more in depth where like so many people ask about negative energy, negative, like demons, shadow hat man, to the point where I feel like, I'm like, did they not see our stuff yet? So then what's easy is just copy and paste and be like, here's a long article about it where it talks in depth, and it probably is going to answer your questions. Same thing with our spirit guide blog post. It is literally a huge article that we wrote on how to talk and communicate with spirit guides and angels. So obviously it's really hard for like Maria to fit all that in 1 minute TikTok video. But when they if they want to know more in depth, like how do I contact them, or how do I like communicate with them? Who are they and whatnot? Like blogs are amazing. I know it sounds like, oh, I'm a blogger, but it's great. It's great to have resources you can direct people to. And when people go to your website, then they also see the services that you offer. And they're like, oh, she does Reiki. She does offer Reiki healing energy. There's a lot of people we get where they're like, I feel like there's a blockage and that stuff. And, we need more people like you to help them out. There's a shortage, man. There really is a shortage, to the point where we can't keep up with it. I think that was the question. Oh, how do I keep up with, like, do you get burnt out? With Reiki, I will say though, at least for me, I don't, and this might be the case for you, it doesn't require a lot of energy from you, because you're more of like holding space for them and sending energy through them, either through Zoom or like, they don't even have to be on Zoom, kind of like how I did the Reiki attunement on you. Like we didn't even have to, we didn't even have to talk and whatnot. But I think people, for a nice customer experience, they want to be like, hi, on Zoom, my name is Chace, and all that kind of stuff, and I'll be using some crystals for you and Reiki energy. And usually you might ask, or in an intake form before you start, they can write down like the issues they're feeling or where they're stuck in life and whatnot, or like any blockages they feel in their body. And then after that, you can say like, okay, well, I see that you have this and this and this. I'll work on those areas. And then you just turn on the music. And then for a good 30 to 45 minutes, they just lay there, or they can sit, and you're just doing Reiki. So it's very like, how do I say this? It's not as mentally taxing. Yeah. Or even physically taxing. Like I know Maria, when she does mediumship, it's like her body is like tired afterwards, whereas Reiki, it's pretty like, I'll say this, easier.
Do you feel like you're getting refueled with Reiki?
Yeah, they actually say, I think in the course we were saying, it was like a little small snippet, but when you're doing Reiki on someone, it's also flowing through you too. So it's kind of like a great situation for you too. So yeah. So totally, yeah. But obviously you can always start, when you start on doing your Reiki practice and doing the booking part, we use Acuity scheduling platform. Some people use Calendly. They're both like pretty much the same. And you can set your own hours, and that way people can only book like, there's only like one appointment available on Tuesday or one appointment available on Thursday. And so that way you don't get overwhelmed, and you can always add more appointments if you want to, if you're like, you know what, I want extra money. Or if you're just like, this is like a little too much, or like this weekend I have a wedding, so I don't want to like kill myself here. So yeah, so that kind of gives you the flexibility to also control your schedule with the full-time job of being a graphic designer. Also, another thing is with the perfectionist, with the graphic designing, this is how I think about it, because I get it. I mean, I think there's a difference between like bad graphic designing and even someone, me, that's not a graphic designer, I'm like, ooh, that looks ugly. And then there's one where like, like it looks nice, but I know for you guys, you and Maria have this eye where you're like, it's 2 centimeters off. But
yeah.
I'm like, I can't notice it. And this is how I think about it. Unless moving that 2 centimeters is going to make you $1,000, then it's not worth the stress. Like if that's going to get people to come to you and be like, this is a great graphic design, I'm going to buy it. then I'm like, it's not worth worrying about. But people are gonna come more for you and like the healing that you can bring them, and also more of just your personality. I know you're like, no, I'm shy, but eventually they'll be like, I feel comfortable with you. You know, even though we're not met and we don't meet in person, we're only through Zoom, like I feel comfortable going to you. Like it's kind of like yoga. You know how there's like 10 million yoga instructors, but you always go to two people because you like them because of their personality, their vibe, or how they make you feel very welcome and kind of like cozy and comfortable, you know? And so you're going to bring that to a certain type of people, a certain crowd of people as well. And the thing about social media is like, I feel like there's a certain point, especially when you start out, to not be bogged down on it's more important of like the value that you can provide and like the content that's coming from you. So like in your videos, you're educating people about Reiki or energy healing or how to help them clear through like stagnant energy around the house and their home. And that's what people are going to come for. They're not going to come for to be like, oh, that's a really nice graphic design. It's going to catch their eye. But unless you're teaching graphic design or like food photography or something that has to be aesthetically pleasing, but if you're more targeting more, again, people saying like, hey, I'm a Reiki practitioner, I can help you clear certain things in your life or help you heal through like blockages or things, ailments going on and whatnot, then that's what people are going to come to you for. I'm just reading what Maria wrote in the chat here. Acuity, our scheduling platform, acuity.com, allows you to make intake forms for your clients for certain services. Yeah, and I think Calendly does this, but we use Acuity. But what's great is like they also allow you to make like automatic emails as well. So for example, earlier today, I was telling Danny, who has her tarot business, that she just started, that after someone books a reading with you, you can send an email where it sends like 1 to 2 days later being like, oh, hey, how was your reading? And then, you know, they write a review for you and all that kind of stuff, but it's automatic. So you don't have to think about it. There's a lot of things. I love automation, so you don't have to worry about it. And like I use planly.com to schedule out the Instagram posts. So like a friend was like, are you up at 8 a.m.? I know you like to sleep in. I'm like, no, I have a app that does it all for me. And yeah, Canva, again, Trang and I use Canva to make cute, quick graphics for classes, events, and social media. Yeah, in the beginning when I started, you know, it was like, I think we had that thing where we're like, it has to look good, you know, and it's like after a while, yes, your branding would be nice and stuff like that. But you have to remember in social media, people scroll through so fast that like, you don't want to spend 1 hour on a graphic when people are going to spend only 2 seconds looking at it. That's how I see it. Yeah. Because a lot of people follow so many people on social media. And then Maria also writes, also share with your audience through videos and pictures what a day in the life of a practitioner is. I think a lot of people love behind the scenes, and it's kind of like following your favorite YouTuber. You know how you just like, they put out content, but then, you know, sometimes they're like, oh, here's a day in my life. You know, today I'm getting coffee. And sometimes you're like, why are people watching this? But when you like that person, you kind of like, you kind of get really interested. And then it's funny because like, for example, everyone sees Maria, but after a while, they'll be like, who's the other person behind the camera? Which was me. And then so I was like, okay, eventually I need to go on camera. So it's one of those things where over time, it'll just kind of come naturally. And you'll probably feel a little resistance because you're shy, being like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. But that's also, I think, what I like about TikTok sometimes too, because it's a very casual platform. It's like not a thing that you have to look makeup perfect for. Like,
yeah. So I'm a student, a UI designer student, and I'm hopefully going into an internship soon, but I'm still working. I want to build this part because it's, you know, honestly, it's been part of my life for a long time, meditating and the spiritual aspect of it. And I've been doing it for years, and I thought, you know how you just know you're supposed to do something. And I'm like, I have to just do this because there's not going to be another time for me. It's extremely important right now in what we're going through, but also it's just important for me, my solace, my soul, I feel like just needs to do this. And so it's been wanting to do it for a long time. And I just would always put it aside, you know, like, oh, it's fine. It's just for me personally. But I really feel like there's a really strong need for that right now. And also at the same time, I'm trying to build like my not just to have a brand, but I need a web page for the UI design stuff. I need logos, those are things I'm going to have anyway. But the social media thing, for one, it always changes. There's always something coming along that might take the place, a new little app that everyone's jumping on that bandwagon. And that's fun. That's what makes it fun. But it's like, I just got used to this one.
Thing is, there's always, I feel like in the tech world, everyone's trying to like not one up each other, but this is a new thing. And you're just pretty much redoing an imitation of this, right? I think TikTok's one of the ones that actually like pumped through really well. I think quarantine helped it out so much. And also the algorithm is great for new creators. So Instagram and Facebook, it's really hard to kind of grow. It's good to still have. So we just still have it just to have, because not all your followers are going to be on TikTok. Majority might be, but like there's still a small group of people on Instagram or Facebook that find us, and that way they know about this event too. So that's why I don't eliminate to just one. And YouTube is great for like in-depth videos as well. So, but I think like usually it's only a few that stay. A few of the that stay. I think there's things that are really minor that people feel like that to keep up, but it's like maybe the algorithm and whatnot. But at the end of the day, you really, for example, TikTok, I'm still trying to figure out the algorithm.
I know, right?
But at the end of the day, what it is for all across all platforms, you just got to post, like keep posting, post once a day. And then there will be a random video that will go viral, and you wouldn't even think it would go. Like there's videos I've made where I was like, I hope this one goes viral. It's funny. And it didn't go viral. It only has like 360, 60 views on it. And then there's one I did on palm reading that I just like cut from my YouTube video. It was just palm reading about the marriage line, and that one blew up. And I was like, that wasn't the video I wanted to blow up, but it got me followers, but I'm happy with that, I guess. So it was just, so it's one of those things where there's certain things you can't control, but the only thing that's like for sure I know is like keep posting. On TikTok, you use like the very, those viral music, the ones that you see everyone posting with the same music background.
Yeah.
Those can do well. That's really basically, and then use hashtags. That's how people find you, hashtags.
Yeah.
And that's it. But other than that, though, social media doesn't have to be a big monster as we think it is. And instead of spreading yourself thin, I say just stick to like the main ones, like TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook group. We don't even do Twitter.
Yeah.
No, but and maybe YouTube when you're at that point where you're doing long videos explaining things for people that want to learn more in depth. Or like even like if you're in, what we do is sometimes like if Maria does a long video on YouTube, I'll take that, transcribe it, and then I find someone online that's cheap to transcribe it, and then just put that as a blog post. And that way you don't have to be like, oh, I got to sit down and make a new blog post. How am I going to do this? It's like, it's again, working smarter and not harder.
Biggest thing too for me is I want it to be cohesive. So whatever platforms I decide that I want to, post to or whatever, I want my logo to be cohesive. And that was kind of one of my things. It's like, okay, with social media, I know like with Facebook and Instagram, you can't, whatever you post, and TikTok, whatever you post on them,
it should be the same handle, you mean?
Well, not only, same handle, but like also just like the image that everybody sees. That way they kind of can recognize you, especially if you go to YouTube and stuff, or like, and you do decide to do a little bit longer of a video. But the thing that I'm saying too is that like, with Facebook and TikTok and Instagram, they own your content once it's posted on there. Obviously you have, what you would, if you are posting or if you're creating it through Canva and you have the templates, you would have that before you post it onto other things. But I don't know, that kind of, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that sometimes.
Yeah. So that's what having your own website is great for. But also, in that online course, I also teach how to build an email list, and that you own. That is something you own. Like if Facebook fails one day, Instagram fails one day, or TikTok, when we had that scare, people had that scare where like,
oh yeah,
exactly. Like and that's why I always in the course work on collecting an email list, because if that were to happen, you still can email your followers and say like, hey, this is an update from me, or hey, I'm having this event, even though social media has been self-destructed or whatever. And that's why people don't realize. And also it's one of those things a lot of times later down the road, people don't realize to make an email list, and they regret it, because that's also in the email list is where you get the most, I would say VIP customers, but they're like some of your most like big followers, if that makes sense.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. And also the thing with logos, how do I say this? I don't want to say you don't need a logo, because some people just use their profile picture, but I know you're shy, camera shy. And again, honestly, I've done a thing where I put makeup on and I asked my friend with like a really nice like a nice iPhone or whatever, the latest iPhone. I'm like, can you take a portrait photo of me? And it actually looks good. And then you take into like editing and you kind of fix up the color. But and then you're like, oh, it's actually not bad. Like you don't have to hire a professional photographer. So I think though the way you are basing your business, the way you're saying it, it seems like a business where it's going to be like you are the face of it. Like Maria and I have like more of like a different business model where we're going to make it eventually grow bigger, sell products and all that stuff. So it's going to become more like a company than like a one-woman entrepreneurship. Like,
well, that's what I want actually, is more like a company. And that's why I don't really want my face to be the brand's logo, because you know what I'm saying? Because I'm actually trying to grow this, and I want to do both UI design and I want to do it all.
Can I share a nugget? Is it okay if I share a nugget?
Yeah, please.
So, yeah, so I totally feel you on the whole, like, you know, when you're a graphic designer, when you're a UI designer, like you're impeccably like trying to make sure everything's beautiful and perfect and cohesive. And I used to do brand consulting and brand identity design and consulting for years before I became a UX UI designer. And let me tell you, I came to the conclusion that no one should let a logo ever stop them from developing their product, their brand. You can always come back and fix that later on. Most people will not even remember the original logo. We've actually tweaked our logo many times after the first launch. No one has ever said a word because people are looking at your content. And if you're not creating good content, if you're not offering cohesive services, if you're not a good package, if you're not a good person, that's the stuff that people care about. And so if you ever notice, like people swarm to a restaurant and the logo is like the worst thing you've ever seen, but it's like the best restaurant in town. It truly, after I used to be so persnickety and be like, oh, you have to have your logo together. And then I started advising my clients completely different, because I was like, actually, no. And I would see people like hold up their whole business for like years saying, I don't have a logo. I can't do anything. I'm like, oh, there's like a million things you could be doing. So pick something that's tasteful and simple and use it as just like a little, just to get started, and then take your time and really see how because you don't know how your brand's going to start to evolve. Then you're going to get a logo that's so much more you and your brand, because now you know what you're actually doing. You're going to be trying stuff out, and like, who's to say who you'll be a year from now? Focus all your energy right now on who you want to be, what you want to do, and how you're going to do it. And just pick something super simple and elegant. It could be extremely minimalist, and then just doesn't necessarily have a super distinctive style, but it's like, I have somewhat of a brand. And then that's kind of the fun of your followers are going to watch you evolve. And that's actually the fun of it. Even the most sophisticated brands are changing their logos sometimes every 5 years because they want to stay relevant. So inevitably your colors are going to change, your style is going to change, and your services are going to change. So have fun with it. Don't overthink it, and focus on you and what you're bringing to the table.
But I'm like, how do I throw the UI design and you know, the spiritual stuff together? Like, it's just gonna have to come as a package. Well, it doesn't have to.
We use at least, and even in our course, we use Wix.com. And that one, I'm glad Maria knew about it, because it literally it's like Canva template, so many templates to choose from. And I'm not tech savvy. I'm like average tech savvy. Like, I know how to use social media and all that kind of stuff and text people and WhatsApp, but not to the point where I can code. And that is so intimidating. But Wix, it literally is, you choose all these templates and you just and they have everything's done for you. You just have to change the text. You change like what it says on a button, like enter here. You just do that. It is so easy, to the point where I was like, yeah, no, I just made another website for like a fun side hobby I do. And it was so easy. It took me maybe like 15 minutes or less, because it's that easy. The thing about, also, you have to think that some advice I'll give from like our experience is you're going to go through different phases of your business. So what you're going to do in the first 2 years, you're not going to probably do in the first, then in your third and fourth year. And then when you're like, companies usually when they're like 10 years old, they're not going to be like, they look back and they're like, wow, the things we had to do when we were in year 1, year 2, it's very different because your model starts to change a bit. So in the beginning, this is a suggestion only, you know, you can take it however you want, but people are going to have to first know you and who you are. So I say like, you can totally do your face and be like Chace, the Reiki healer, or Chace, intuitive healing, that kind of stuff. Maria, people don't know Maria as Maria. They know her as psychic medium Maria Hill. So they know her first. And then eventually Maria talks naturally about, hey, I have a thing called the Happy Healing Shop. And that's where people go like, oh, let me check that out. So it's kind of like people are going to want to know about you first. And then eventually they're going to, once they kind of develop that relationship, being like, I like this practitioner, I like this yoga teacher, you start following them. And I mean, they start following you. And then when they see your posts and all that kind of stuff, they're like, oh, eventually you'll see a post saying where you say like, I do Reiki, I offer Reiki energy healing courses. This is how it can help you. This is maybe what you're looking for. And then they're like, oh, where can I book? There's so many times where on Maria's lives, people are like, where can I book? And I'm like, it's in her link in bio, but we have to keep reminding because people don't realize your website exists. They don't realize that. So some of it's like you might sound like a robot over and over again, but a lot of people just don't know. And so, so in the first like 1 to 2 years, it's like people knowing who you are as a person. And then they are going to be like, all right, what else does she do? Or what does she stand for? And things like that. And that's where like, that's why like the first few years, you don't have to do yours. I guess the first few years, you're going to be more of like a woman entrepreneur. And then maybe in year 3, but I would say maybe more year 4 and 5 or 6 is when you start building into like, it's going to turn to a different model where you might even not do readings anymore, single readings. You might go to like group readings, or you might do intuitive coaching, or you might do like, because like after a while you're going to run out of time and you can't keep up with it. So you're gonna have to do something where it's more sustainable. So you can do a subscription model or like do passive income, like selling online courses, but you do not worry about that in the first 2 years, because I always like to give people expectations. And I think what people do, it really frustrates me because I see a lot of online advertisements being like, do this, what I did, and you're going to make lots of money. And it's all, I see through like the way they twist words to make you believe it, that you can achieve that in your first year. And in this like in our online course or the program, if you choose to do in the future and stuff like that, I am more honest with you, because I think when you set expectations and you tell people, this is what to expect in year 1, this is what to expect in year 2, people don't feel like they're behind. Does that make sense? It's like college. You tell people it takes on average most people to finish 4 years of college. So, but if you told the whole entire world, oh, you can take as long as you want in college, there's going to be people that are attempting in 2 years and then get burnt out and feel like a failure. But then there's so many people that'll be like, okay, I'll take 10 years to do it. But when you tell people like, hey, the normal expectations is it takes 4 years to do undergrad, then people are like, oh, okay, I know how I should kind of pace myself and how I shouldn't compare myself to other people and whatnot. So the first 2 years, you're probably going to operate more like a solo. It's me, I'm a female entrepreneur. I do service, personal one-on-one services, work one-on-one with you. And then in year 3, but probably year 4, you're going to start changing your model because you have to sustain it. But that, I say, don't worry about that until people, the first 2 years, you're going to struggle. Your big struggle in the first 2 years is getting people to find you, to know that you're a Reiki healer. You know, online, they're like, oh, I can't find a Reiki healer. And you're like, it's me.
You made a lot of great points. And that's why I really, would love to, I need to do probably the single course at least, for sure.
Yeah, in that course, so for those watching on TikTok, we have in our link in bio a start your own spiritual online course. And it's just the basic, it's a bit more budget friendly because you don't have any sessions with me where I coach or guide you or mentor you. And in that, you know where I told you to get all set up with Wix and all that stuff, I have a video where I say, click here, you'll see me where to click, so you don't, because I don't like it when people have like written instructions for something and you're just like, wait, where am I supposed to click? Like you literally have a visual being like, you can compare and be like, oh, this is how I set up my site. Okay, I make payment here. I put my credit card details here, and then I integrate it all here. So that way you don't get stuck halfway along the way and be like, great, I don't have an IT person to help me. So, well, Maria knows I'm a very detail-oriented person. So I have so many videos there showing every single thing to the point where I'm like, this has to be idiot proof. Like I am, just because just so people don't get stuck halfway. Cause then that means, did you even make a good course? So, but yeah, that is for any of you guys watching in, that is the more affordable option. Again, link in our bio or thehappyhealingshop.com. And you can, again, it's a standalone course. So you can buy it any time of the year. There's not like enrollment deadline or whatnot, and you have access to it for your whole entire life. So yeah, but it's definitely, and it gives you a list of all the apps that we talked about that we use. Of course, other people use other apps, but these are the ones that we use that are like simple and just like, I think that starting a business does not have to be hard. And that's the thing, especially when people make it more fancy and they use big business terms, and you're like, no, you just need to start this, and this, and that's it, done. I think also another thing I noticed, and we addressed this in the first week of our online course, is addressing the fears and emotions. And the two things I see is self-doubt and overthinking. I see that in like everyone when they start out, one or both, but it's there. And we totally get it, because when Maria and I started, we had to figure everything out ourselves. So it was very, it was quite a journey, but because of the struggles we went through, at least people like you guys or any friends, don't have to struggle like we did. Like, you don't have to figure it all out. I just give it to you on a silver platter, literally, in this course. We have used Acuity for some of our automated emails. Do we use any others? I use, as of right now, we use MailChimp for like sending out newsletters to people, but, and you can schedule it. Like, I like to work in the middle of the night. So I am actually like, when I'm shooting out an email at 2 in the morning, I have it actually scheduled to send out like at 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning. So people aren't like, why is Happy Healing Shop sending us an email at 2 in the morning? But it's all automated. Planoly.com, again, that's for social media. So you don't have to like keep logging in every day and being like, oh, and make a new post. TikTok does have their own. Okay, so TikTok on the desktop, you can schedule videos to be released, but TikTok is mainly a phone app. So even though I'd like to do scheduling for TikTok videos, I manually go in and do it, because a lot of it is like myself editing in there and whatnot. So, but there's a lot of, little story time. In the beginning, Maria and I started, and we had nothing automated. So we used Skype. We didn't have Zoom, because in this beginning, you don't want to, you're like, oh, let's try to save money. Because in the beginning, that is real. Like, you don't have a lot of money to spend yet so you just kind of do a lot of shortcuts. And so we did Skype, because everyone has Skype usually, or like Google Hangouts and whatnot. But then as you kind of build, or after within a few months, probably, we're just like, all right, this is so labor intensive. We used to not even have a calendar to schedule. People would text me, and I'd be like, hold on, let me check with Maria. And then I'd be like, Maria, are you free this day or this day? And then she'd be like, I'm not free any day. And then I'd be the man and be like, hey, client, sorry, you have to. And even though you have to spend a little bit more money on things like Acuity and stuff like that, it is worth it. And it's also setting boundaries, because you might have friends and family being like, hey, are you free at 8 o'clock this Friday to do a Reiki session on me, or to do a tarot reading on me? And you're like, no, but I don't know how to say no. Where it's easier to just be like, click on my calendar link and book when I have available time. So it's a platform that also makes it easier for you, but also helps you set those boundaries. And also it makes you look more professional that way, because you don't want to be in a space where like clients are texting you all the time, because then it kind of like gets really messy. And I would rather have you not even start with that and just go straight to like, here's my booking calendar. And that way people don't, I don't want to say take advantage of you, but kind of like think like, oh, Chace is available anytime. I'm just going to text her, yo, can you do a Reiki session on me right now? And you're just, and you're like, I want the money, but I'm in the middle of doing something.
Some people will use you as like an on-call therapist outside of readings, and try to develop a friendship, try to get free readings, like try to convince, it's a whole mess if a reader is giving out their number privately.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can work around it, but wouldn't it be better if you didn't have to deal with that in the first place? So
Yeah.
for figuring out all these awesome systems for us.
Yeah.
That, but I did have another question in terms of like, I'm starting as a foundation with my Reiki. That's been a foundation for me for years, but just personally. But in terms of where I want to go with my business, that's just a modality that I want to start. That's my foundation. And so I have other things that I want to build on with that, in terms of the services that I want to offer for clients, like sound therapy. I want to do, I'm kind of exploring some Kundalini, breath work and other aspects like some Thai yoga and acupressure, things that I can build on that.
It seems like a one place stop shop for healing modalities, spiritual healing modalities.
Well, I'm trying to find the right thing for me that I want to offer, but also something that will be beneficial to many people. So I don't really know exactly where that's going to go yet, but I have some sort of idea of what I want to explore.
Yes, that's good to have. I always say have a nice rough vision, kind of like a cloudy vision, I guess. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but also keep in mind that idea can always change over time, because once you start doing your business, you year 2, you might be like, oh, you know what, I'm going to axe that. It's not going to work, or I don't feel it anymore, but then I always say focus on the first, kind of bring it back and focus to the first year, and just the first year.
One thing, if anyone here has a lot of ideas about starting metaphysical business, I think one of the biggest pitfalls is trying to do all of them all at once when you start out the gate. So I would recommend that everyone pick your top maybe couple services to start and really hone those. And those will be a good chance to test your market and see, eventually your market will tell you what they're looking for. So then you can really vet your ideas. So yeah, don't get too overwhelmed if you have too many ideas. Write them down, have a little plan for later. But we had so many cases where we're like, oh shit, we need to put this service in now, because we never thought that would be there. So,
and the first year is getting people to realize you exist. That's
the
biggest thing. That's why I say, if you want to start just on your side, start doing your social media, or even start writing ideas down of what you can do, posts about Reiki, do fun posts, or just if it comes to you, you're like, oh yeah, I should do something like that. Just write down so you can remember. So when you decide one day to start recording or making a post, then you could be like, oh, I have a little book of ideas I can go through. And sometimes it could be just simple things like how it can be even, because sometimes we think posts need to be kind of epic, and not all of them do. Someone could just be like, hey guys, how was your day? Just checking in. And that's it. And then people can reply and comment. It's just engagement. It's a little things like that. Or even you can do maybe, I've seen this online too, a 1 minute, because TikTok's 1 minute, a 1 minute Reiki video where you're just giving Reiki through the screen. And it says in caption, this will work if you accept it, and I'm sending Reiki healing energy to you. And people might have crystals and do it symbols and stuff like that. But that's just an easy post where you're just and it works anytime. And I was like, that was so simple. Why did I do that? But if I do that, am I copying them?
It's a good way to promote it, honestly.
Yeah. And also the thing is, we in our community, so Maria and I, it was a little secret sort of, but we hope to build people up to have their own businesses like this, because like you said, it's more needed after 2020. You're it's more of it's needed in the world. I think more people are going to realize I'm unhappy doing the same old thing I've been doing all my life, and it's either now or never. Kind of like what you said with your experience, where you're even if you choose not to do it and you choose to kind of keep putting it off for another 2 years, it's going to eat inside of you till either the day you die, or until one day you're just you know what, I'm done. I really have to start it. And again, it's kind of it's part of your soul, and it's feels very soul sucking when you're just not doing that thing that makes you really fulfilled. I get there is a point where you have to balance getting your full-time job to pay the bills, but we'll hit that point when you have to switch over to their side.
Yeah.
And that might be a few years in. So I think sometimes people freak out being oh, it's my first year. I'm trying to get this full time. It's But then when you set that expectation, it's a very, very, very ambitious expectation, but it's not common because that's not usually the pace that an organic business can grow. You know, it's Amazon, Facebook, all those Nike, they weren't made in 1 year. It took like, it really blew up more like year 7, 8, 9, 10, and then just got bigger. It's kind of like a snowball. You know, it takes a while to make that snowball and you're like, ugh, just doing it in your hand. But then once you have it and then you roll it down the hill, it just picks up. And that's the thing I've seen, like even now we're like into our third year, I guess. And that's when things start I started noticing that I didn't post for a few days and people are still subscribing to our newsletter. And I was like, wow, there must be more people seeing Maria's content or seeing the Happy Healing Shop content where it's like, oh, click for our newsletter to get free events and all that stuff. So, but in the beginning, we were just like, hey, come guys, come. It was very humble beginnings, very humble beginnings. That's why I say, whether you take any class or not online, just get started, because the first year, it just takes time. Like if I told you to bake a piece of bread, but it's going to take a year to like grow this loaf of bread, you'd probably start baking it tonight instead of like waiting next month, because you're like, oh man, this bread takes forever to bake. It's kind of like that.
To be quite honest, like it's okay if it doesn't succeed in the way that I'm expecting it to, because in all honesty, I'm not doing it for, you know, to make a bunch of money. Like some people, you know, I'm not motivated in that way. Yes, I want to be comfortable in my life. Yes, those are nice things to have, but I feel like it's just a calling that I have to fulfill. And that's really kind of where I'm at with that. It's not about, really, it's bigger than me.
Yeah, I feel like that sounds like soul contract just kind of seeping in there.
Oh, you know, it totally is. And it has been, I think it hit me in the face in my 30s and it slapped me around in my 20s. And I honestly just kind of ran from it forever. And I'm like, okay, I'm not getting any younger. I'm in my 40s. I need to just go with the flow on this one, or I'm going to really regret it.
Exactly. And it's so nice to hear that, because I know there's other people in our community that probably feel that way, but they're still like kind of even behind where you're thinking, where they don't even think that their idea can become like a business, an actual thing, because you know, they don't know where to start. And that's why I made this program, or we made this program, because a lot of people do the development part. They study about how to become a psychic, how to become a tarot reader, how to become an energy healer, but then there's like no one that says out there like, hey, this is how you actually can make a living out of it. And that's where the disconnect is. And so that's why I think like Maria's had like so many entrepreneurships before, like with other people and some shady business people too. And it takes like, you have to do like, you really have to consider like the business side to make it a success. So I think that's why when we met, it just went, because you have to have both. You know, like if it weren't for Maria, I'd be like, no one knows what the Happy Healing Shop is. But if it weren't for me, then there's not a lot of back end stuff that would be like organized and like things rolling and projects getting done, you know, and things being launched. So obviously, you know, when you're by yourself, that is a bit more, it can get overwhelming. But, you know, again, when you kind of get the guidance that you need and whatnot, or you see the expectations that are very realistic, then you go like, okay, I'm not behind. I just have like a lot of tedious work to do, but I'm okay. I'm okay. And I'm kind of also excited, but I'm like, there's like a multiplier effect when you have more people doing it. You have a team of people doing it. And I think in the metaphysical industry, it's a red flag for me if people are competing with each other. I think it comes from a not good intention. But when I see people collaborate, like, who knows? Maybe we'll be working with you in the future when we're like, hey, we need an extra person for this for our workshop or whatever. Chace, you know, I know your work ethic. I know how you deal with things. Can you come on by for this? Is that okay? And, you know, also collaborating, it's kind of in the long, obviously this is something you can worry about, not now, but in the future. But it's just like, when you collaborate, that's also one key thing where you make connections with people. But my followers will get to know who you are. Your followers get to know who we are. And then we each get subscribers from that. But that's why collaborating is always good, because sometimes you can offer something we can't, or you specialize in something we can't.
So that's the good thing about it, is that I think it's good to collaborate. I think it's very important, because
Yeah.
not only do did you say, some of the good things about it, the fact that you can, you can learn from each other. You each have different types of followers, and sometimes that can be a good thing because their followers don't even know you exist, or you know what I mean? Like, it can be a really
Exactly. Yeah.
beneficial thing. It can be learning, but also just being around people. We're meant to be connected. Two minds are better than one. When you come together collaboratively and you are able to put your resources together and your minds together.
But it is like magical when it happens, especially when you work with people that are on the same page, going for the same goal. We all want to help. And I mean, yeah, I think a lot of people in the healing or metaphysical industry are kind of like you, where they're like, it's not about the money for me. Like, it is nice. I always say, like, still charge though, because you need it for future things. And that's the thing, like, right now, in the moment, you might not be able to see it. For anyone watching in, you might be like, oh, I can charge cheaper. I can charge just to make ends meet. But you have to think, I need to charge and have that extra money because I want to grow my business. I want to be able to hire someone for help. Like, and this is something that, unless you're like someone like me that plans ahead, like, people forget this. So you have to have that money to expand. It's kind of like you need a savings account for your business to expand later on, but you don't know what that expansion is going to be about. Like, you don't know what that money you'll need later on, until it actually happens. And you're like, oh, I'm glad I actually charged a decent amount so I can have it in my savings. Also, this is a quote an old boss told me. And he said this to me. And in the moment, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But he said, never underestimate the impact you have on others. That's for everyone watching. You never know.